Today we're going to take a look at this 2023 Maverick XLT Hybrid to see what all the fuss is about. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. Back in 2021, I bought a Ford Maverick FX4 Lariat with the turbo all-wheel drive setup. It was the first truck I had ever owned, and I loved it. In fact, I loved it so much, I traded it in for this, a 2022 Ford Ranger Tremor Edition. The Ranger is, of course, bigger and more capable in almost every department. However, it is an older design and due for replacement later this year. In 2021, the Ford Maverick was all new. And by all new, I mean a modern version of the small pickup didn't even exist in the States until Ford recreated it. And though my personal interests aligned with the turbo all-wheel drive version of this little mini truck, the fact is, the most important version is the hybrid. Here's a vehicle with all the comforts of a thoroughly modern compact crossover, but with the benefit and utility of a truck bed. Plus, it gets up to 42 miles to the gallon in town and 33 on the highway. My Ranger? I'd be lucky to get 20. The Maverick that Ford sent us here is a 2023 XLT with a number of extra options, such as luxury, Copilot 360, and black appearance packages. Prices you see it here, $31,615 US including destination. Under the hood is a 2.5-liter four-cylinder gas engine combined with an electric motor for a combined output of 191 horsepower. It's connected to a continuously variable transmission, sending power to the front wheels. As of the day that we're filming this, there is still no announcement on a Ford Maverick Hybrid with all-wheel drive. That said, I do expect that Ford in the near future will announce both a hybrid all-wheel drive as well as an all-electric Maverick Lightning. But that's just a guess. I really like the wheels on this black appearance package. They are alloy 18 inches and they look great. Although painted black, they'll probably scratch really easy. They are wrapped in Michelin Primacies with a 225/60 R18 fitment. In the back is a 4.5-foot bed with a spray and bed liner. It also has plenty of tie downs, a power socket, and a bed light. Further, if you're into do-it-yourself projects, there are actually ports you pull out here to give you power leads for your projects. That's kind of neat. It's on both sides. And then this tailgate, if you need to have more height, it is height adjustable. Bring it up there. You can then lay a full sheet of plywood flat, which is really nice. Oh, we also get bottle openers down here. Neat. This hybrid front-wheel drive version only has a towing capacity of 2,000 pounds, but it does have a tow receiver as well as a 4-pin connector. If you need to tow more, you can either buy the turbo all-wheel drive, which will let you tow up to 4,000 pounds with the optional tow package. If you need to tow more than that, just get a Ranger. With that, you can tow up to 7,500 pounds. Let's check out this second row. Gotta be careful getting my toes under the seat there. Okay, technically I fit. My head does not rub, my knees are not touching, and my feet even go under the seat in front of me. I am 6'1", legs torso proportionate. If I was driving, this is where I would have my front seat. And you know, it's workable, though not ideal. The seat cushion is pretty comfortable. I also get fold-down armrests with integrated cup holders, 2 USB sockets, one USB-A, one USB-C, a 400-watt power AC socket, and then I also have a little hook here that you can buy little clip-in things for. Okay, there's also something else neat about the second row, is that when you fold it up, you get these really large bins. These are massive compared to the bins that are under the second row of my Ranger. Oh yeah, this is familiar. I really like just the overall colors that they went with on this one. The blue on the outside, the blue on the inside with these gray accents. It looks very modern and very cool. Standard key, no push button start at this trim level. Of course, it's a hybrid, so once I turn it on, it just makes a couple chimey noises. The engine will cycle on and off as necessary, but it is basically going to start in electric drive if it has enough battery to do that. Let's turn that fan down. Oh, motor just popped on. I do love that this has physical switchgear for the aircon system. Even though it is only single zone, you have to go up to Lariat to get multi-zone. Oh, in addition to having seat warmers, it also has a power seat on the driver's side. Huh? Although, that's as low as it goes. I feel like these seats sit very high. Oh, and the passenger seat, that is manual still on this trim level. But this one has been upgraded with a number of packages that make it really quite nice. In spite of the fabric seats, which actually aren't too bad, this has heated seats and a heated steering wheel. It also has the Ford Copilot 360 system. Although I would call it the Copilot 180 system in this because it's really only looking out the back. It does have lane detect and blind spot warning, but it does not have adaptive cruise control. Again, you got to move up to Lariat to get that. I'm not sure why they still call it the Copilot 360 when it's not really co-piloting because there's no adaptive cruise control. There's just standard cruise control. And yeah, you're just looking behind you and next to you. I guess lanes and blind spots. Huh. Well, in addition to that type of safety features, this does have, of course, collision mitigation, and if you put it in reverse, you get a nice rear view camera. And I actually rather like this display. Even when I owned a Ford Maverick, the infotainment never was a problem for me. I mean, Apple CarPlay, I plugged it in, it worked fine. For this level of truck, this level of infotainment is great. You don't need something fancy. And this is not something fancy. It's a nice touchscreen. It is very responsive. You can set up XM satellite radio. You can do all sorts of different things. This one, I don't think, yeah, this one doesn't actually have XM at this trim level. But if you move up to Lariat, you can get XM. And of course, you can always plug in your phone, which is what most people who buy this are probably going to do, because it supports both Android Auto as well as Apple CarPlay. When I owned a Maverick, I really liked the interior. Yes, there's some cheapness about it, but they do a really good job. And for the price point, I think it's quite good. And mostly it's about functionality. Everything is in easy reach. You have just so many bins and slots to put things in. You even get a removable thing back there so you can clean it. And then they just make everything nice. And I like this exposed rivet look with the door pull. You got lots of cup holders down there. The door close. That sounds solid. For a little truck that is on the cheap side for a truck, I think this is actually really, really great. Anybody who's considering a crossover but says, hey, you know what? I might use a truck bed every once in a while to get dirt or to move car tires or to carry a lawnmower. I mean, just anything where you need to carry something that doesn't need to be in the cab. This is actually a really good option. It's not going to be good if you have big kids because big kids aren't going to fit in the second row, but for everybody else, this is just a great little lifestyle truck. It really is. So this one, of course, is the hybrid. It's a front-wheel drive hybrid. And that's going to be kind of interesting because, first off, I've never driven this truck. Like literally, I'm filming this right now. I moved it from my driveway to my open lot, and that took me all of 30 seconds. That is as much as I've driven this. So I'm really looking forward to see how well this handles power, how it handles the road, and to see, you know, is it worth getting the hybrid for 42 miles to the gallon around town? Because that's kind of nutty, isn't it? Now, I am looking forward to both the electric and the hybrid all-wheel drive, neither of which has been officially announced, but you know they have to be coming, because I think this with a hybrid all-wheel drive system, man, that could be really good. Now that I've revisited the interior of the Maverick, I want to do a quick look at the Ranger interior just for a little comparison. So much higher. I'm gonna climb up into this one. Where's the keys? Yeah, like the XLT Maverick there, this XLT trimmer, also uses a key, although I have remote start on mine. Yeah, well, the display is roughly the same size. It's very similar in design. I do like my gauge cluster better here. I guess it's really not that different. Granted, there's a lot more going on here too. I mean, I have all my off-road stuff, including rear locker, my 4-high, 4-low system. I have this really, kind of old school shifter. There's a long list of things I like about the Ranger. The interior isn't one of them. Okay, so the quality of this interior may not be as good as the Ranger, but the overall design is so much better in this truck. Now, the good news is that the upcoming Ranger revision is going to have an interior much more like this one, which I really look forward to because the Ranger just doesn't use space very well. Anyway, enough about the Ranger. We're going to put that behind us, and now it's time to head out in this Maverick Hybrid. So the battery attached to the system isn't that large, but that's pretty common for a hybrid. It's a 1.1 kilowatt hour unit, but that's good enough for the, giving that electric assist for starts, for low speed rolling, that kind of stuff. It was several years ago that Ford announced they were going to be phasing out a lot of their traditional cars, like sedans and stuff. And at the time, people were really scratching their heads. Of course, Ford knew that the Maverick was coming. And yes, I've told this story before, but it's very important to underline. Don't count out car manufacturers. They kind of know what they're doing. And this Maverick, I have to say, I own the Ranger today because I owned the Maverick the year before that. Owning a truck for me had been one of those things where I'm like, I just don't really see myself as a truck guy, yet realistically, I own 12 acres in eastern Washington. I have 2.5 acres on my house here out on the peninsula. That means a lot of maintenance. That means moving stuff around. That kind of means you should probably consider a truck. So I don't think I'll ever give up at least one truck. I usually own multiple cars, but I can really see myself almost always owning at least one truck. Now, does that mean I'm going to always own a Ford Ranger? Well, of course not. I might own, a Chevy Colorado, Jeep Gladiator, maybe not a Nissan Frontier. Let's try a 0 to 60 in this thing, and I know it's not built for speed, but we're going to go to what drive mode? Let's go to Sport, and I'm just going to mosh it and see what it does. 3, 2, 1, go! A lot of noise. 40, 50, and 60, and that's 7.77 seconds. Actually way better than I thought it would be. That's actually not bad. 7.77 seconds. Did not see that coming. So the thing that really strikes me about this vehicle is really how quiet and nice it is to drive. This is a budget truck. It is a compact crossover competitor, and it's really quiet, and it's smooth, and the engine feels great. Actually, it's got a little punch. You put the throttle in, it does stuff. Now, is it fast? No. But is it fast enough? Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'd say it's downright quick for what it is. Well done. So the gauge cluster here is a combination of digital display in the middle, and then you have traditional dials on the side. They look very modern. I'm totally cool with it. I think it's a good setup, and it's really nice also that they give me a actual dial for the temperature gauge. Nicely done. In addition to that, we have a digital display which lets me pick a number of different options to show. I can either do like my mileage. Ooh, let's go ahead and reset that. Okay, that's reset. So with our mileage reset, let's go for a little bit and see what kind of MPGs we get on this according to the computer. And I'm not going to drive nice. I'm just driving here like I would always drive. And I love the fact that it's actually showing that I have like 400 miles to empty. That's pretty cool. So If you paid attention at the beginning of this video, you'll note that I said this gets 42 miles to the gallon around town and 33 on the highway. The reason why it's inverted like that, that's pretty common with hybrids, is because they're optimized for stop and go traffic or low speed driving. So you get the most use of that electric motor in low speeds, and that really helps stretch that mileage. When you're cruising on the highway, yes, that's the peak efficiency for a gas engine, but the gas engine is only one part of the component here, and it's not going to be the most efficient thing on the planet because it really looks to that electric motor to help it out. Now, there are a couple distinct advantages with hybrid powertrains over standard gas-powered ones, and that really comes down to government compliance. Auto start-stop is required for vehicles that are sold in Europe, and auto start-stop can be a little fumbly on a vehicle that is just a gas-powered engine because it has to start that gas-powered engine up again before it can move. With a hybrid, you start moving with the electric motor before the gas engine even kicks on. So because of that, your auto start-stop functions are going to be really, really smooth. You probably will never even consider disabling auto start-stop because you don't really know when you would need to, because the electric motor is just going to do the work anyway, so you're not really, waiting for that gas engine to fumble alive. You can spend a lot of money on a Maverick. My personal Maverick, how much did I spend on that? I think it was around $37,000. That was the Lariat, fully loaded with the adaptive cruise control, the synthetic leather interior. It was a really nice setup with, of course, all-wheel drive, the max tow package, etc., etc. This one is a mid-range XLT, and then they've added features to make it more livable. You still get a key ignition, you still get a single-zone climate control. You still don't have adaptive cruise control, which I find a little silly. I think that if they're going to sell an option on here called Copilot 360, you might want to deal with what's in front of you, right? But no, the Copilot 360 they have on this is just a neutered version that gives you the blind spot warning and lane detection. Oh, I should probably turn lane detection on. On the end of my stock right here is a push button. It's like they ran out of places to put buttons. So I put that on, and it's now going to keep me in my lanes, which, you should stay in your lanes anyway, so obviously it's just an assist, but I think it's an okay one, A little more safety when you're doing a daily run to and from the office, it's not a bad thing. This thing is so quiet. There's a little bit of wind noise on the wing mirror, but I can only hear it because there's so little noise elsewhere. It's smooth, it's quiet, the suspension feels amazing on this, just driving on this highway. It looks like I'm actually in electric mode right here. So I'm doing 25 and it kicked into all electric. I'm now approaching the stoplight. I can hear the electric tone outside because you're mandated to have a tone under a certain speed, so pedestrians know you're coming. Man, this is so smooth. Now, this has a continuously variable transmission, but I find it interesting. It kind of mimics shifting a lot. So I put the throttle on. Yeah, I can kind of hear this. You don't see your RPMs. That's not a thing. It just shows you your power, but it definitely is acting in steps in certain regards. I'm not sure why that is, but it's a very comfortable feeling. I'm not driving this going, oh no, I'm driving a rubber band, kind of like old CVTs would do. No, this is good. I have no complaints against this transmission. It seems well suited to this hybrid powertrain. Now, of course, the next question is, well, what use is a truck that can't tow? Well, this isn't that kind of truck. I think there's a big enough audience out there, especially people who maybe never considered a truck in their life, yet, they go to the mountains on the weekend. They maybe take their mountain bikes, which you can just throw in the back. Maybe they're avid gardeners. Maybe they have some other hobby that requires moving large objects that can be exposed to the weather. Any of those scenarios are perfect for a truck. And you don't have to dedicate yourself to a big, massive F-150 or, Silverado or anything like that. Heck, you don't even have to get a Ranger, which is great because not everybody should be driving trucks like the Ranger. It's a body on frame. It's old style. It's comfortable, but you know, in the twisties, it kind of leans a little. It has ancient suspension in the back because it has leaf springs, which start going over bumps, that thing's gonna get, you know, disrupted. This is a modern multi-link suspension, which means it is super smooth to drive. So if it sounds like I'm trying to sell you on the idea of this truck, I am. This truck makes sense for a lot of people. If you have a boat that you need to tow that weighs like 8,000 pounds or even 3,000 pounds, no, this won't work. You might consider the turbocharged all-wheel drive version of it. You might also consider moving up to a larger truck. There's the new Chevy Colorado. There's the upcoming, newly updated Ford Ranger. Basically, there's no shortage of options. But I think this, for people that may not have ever considered a truck because they drove too truck-like, or they were big, or they were just not very approachable, I mean, finally, Ford has a truck that meets all those criteria, and it's super nice to drive. Now, this is missing out on a few things that I really wish they would include, but you gotta move up to Lariat for it. And the number one is the lack of adaptive cruise control. I find it silly that people don't just include that because I think it's a really good safety feature. Now, yeah, we do have regular cruise control here and it's very easy to use. And yes, we also have lane detection here, but no adaptive. So I can basically only set one speed. And adaptive is particularly nice for the daily commute because if you are commuting in a vehicle like this, you want the option to be able to do stop and go. Now, I'm not complaining that the XLT doesn't have adaptive cruise. What I'm complaining is that when you option the Copilot 360, it does not include it. You have to go to Lariat for that. And I don't think that people should be forced to go to the top trim to get a safety feature like that. Maybe it's just me. So we've only driven about 9 miles here, and it looks like I've been averaging 38.3 mpgs. And I just realized that I have this in sport mode, which is more aggressive on using the gas engine side. So let's go ahead and pop that over to one of the other drive modes, and there are many. We have normal, tow haul, slippery, eco, and sport. So let's just go to eco. And that'll probably smooth out the throttle a lot, you know, so you really have to bury your foot to get some action there. It'll probably use the hybrid, the electrified portion of the hybrid powertrain a lot more. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing here so far. So the drive that I'm doing here is literally the drive from my house to my office, which is about a 30-minute drive. I do it a few times a week. So this is really representative of a commute. This is my real world commute. And so far it's averaging 41 miles to the gallon now that we've done 10.1 miles. Wow, that is amazing. And this really isn't stop and go. I mean, I'm basically keeping at around 45 miles per hour, 40, 45 with a couple stoplights. But overall, no, this is doing great. I didn't think I would like the hybrid as much as I do. Last year we did film the front wheel drive turbo version of the Maverick, and I think that is an awful version that should never have been made. That turbo engine needs all-wheel drive. It just spins the wheels way too much. 3, 2, 1, and go! Full throttle. Ah! Skippity-doo-dah! But this hybrid, this is a solid entry. This is, even the fact that it's front-wheel drive is not really a problem unless you need that all-wheel grip or you plan on towing even light objects. You know, obviously all-wheel drive will be better. You don't want to even put the lightest of boats at a boat launch into the water with front-wheel drive. That's just not, that just doesn't work very well. Man, 43.7 mpgs. That's crazy. So the lane detection here, I'm just gonna let it show you. It actually does bump us back into the lane here, which is kind of nice. But it's not a lane centering system because obviously it doesn't have the adaptive cruise component, which it should for this money. But, you know, whatever. So I've already mentioned this truck has a lot of different options that add functionality to the interior cabin. But it also has the black appearance package, and I think that just looks amazing on this truck, especially with this kind of darkish blue color. They really work well together. And this is like a great looking truck. More trucklet, tiny truck? Although it's not really that tiny. I mean, this was the size of the Ranger just a couple decades ago. They just keep getting bigger. Oh man. So we got one more thing to do here. I'm actually averaging 44 mpgs on 12.4 miles of driving, which is very impressive. But now we're going to jump onto the freeway and see how well this thing handles higher speed acceleration. Like, can you actually pass a car with this limited hybrid powertrain? Let's find out. When I owned my Lariat Maverick, the seats were actually quite comfortable, and these seats feel very much the same, although they're just covered in fabric and not the synthetic leather that I had. You get enough adjustments. I do find that the seating position is a little higher than I would like, but it's not a big deal. It definitely gives you a commanding view of the road, and you do have excellent visibility in this. Well, I like the blind spot warning. I can see that that guy is right in my blind spot. Okay, tight close. Can I accelerate and get behind this guy? Yeah, it's okay. The transmission's a little slow to respond. Of course, I am in eco mode. Let's go ahead and pop that over to sport mode. Yeah, it's still a little slow to respond. You push it, it thinks, it downshifts or fake downshifts, and then it pushes you forward. It's not bad though. I mean, this is not going to feel dangerous to anybody. It's plenty fast for passes. It's just not that quick at doing the pass. And it actually is really quiet on the freeway too. I mean, this would be such a great commuter truck. Throw your mountain bikes in the back on the weekend, head out to the hills. Yeah, this would be a great lifestyle-like vehicle. Obviously, my MPGs have suffered a little bit since I've jumped on the freeway. We're now down to 38.8 MPGs, according to the computer. So I think I've covered all of the main aspects of this truck. Obviously, we have other reviews we've done with the front-wheel drive Turbo Maverick, as well as all the videos that I did with the all-wheel drive Turbo that I owned for almost a year. So be sure to check those videos out if you want to learn more about those trim levels. And with this exit, that's the entirety of my commute. And we're looking at 39 MPGs on 17.2 miles. That's pretty good. Also, I want to underscore that's 17.2 miles. That means that I could get, if I had an EV that could do 34 miles total range, or a PHEV that could do 34 miles total range, I could go from my house to my office and back without using a drop of gas. Remember that thing I said about the PHEV version of the Maverick that I would love to own? 40 miles, that's all I need. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share videos. We make it for you, and I hope you enjoy.